I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I have a 27-year-old uncle, Jimmy. When I was 19, I moved to a town for college, where my uncle lives with our older uncle. Jimmy introduced me to his childhood friends, Chad and James, who were both in their senior year at university. We all became close, and they would often invite me out for fun. Over time, James expressed feelings for me and repeatedly asked me out over the next 2 years, but I consistently turned him down because I didn't feel the same way. Eventually, I met another one of their childhood friends, Carter, who was working in a different town. We hit it off, and after a year of staying in touch, we started dating. When Carter and I became official, I told James about it, and though he was initially upset, he eventually moved on and started dating someone else. Now, James is engaged, and we're all thrilled for him. Carter even plans to help organize James's bachelor party. The issue? A few days ago, while texting with James, out of nowhere, he told me I had hurt him by not reciprocating his feelings in the past. Then, shockingly, he said that before he gets married, he would like to virgin me. He knows I'm saving myself for marriage. He bragged about his sexual prowess, but I declined, explaining that he's getting married. I'm dating his best friend, Carter. I don't have feelings for him. He changed the subject after that, but I stopped responding because I was disgusted. Now, I'm torn about whether to tell my boyfriend, Carter, about this conversation. I fear that it could ruin their friendship and strain my uncle's relationships with them both, since they are all close. Should I tell my boyfriend about this?
I, 25 years old, and my husband, 27 years old, have a complicated history together, especially concerning his family. I met him on a blind date when we were both in college, and he asked me to be his girlfriend on our second date. He's always been sweet, trying to be considerate of my feelings, especially when it comes to his family. His mother has always been against our relationship from the start, mostly due to the reasons I think I might be the asshole here. He had a friend, let's call her Annie, who passed away when he was a teenager. He'd always been close with her, and he always insisted they were platonic. However, his mother always talked about how they were supposed to get married as adults, and I was his second choice, and he wouldn't have married me if she was alive. It's always hurt, in all honesty, and I've tried as hard as I can to be accommodating for her and her grief, as she cared about Annie a lot and was even friends with her mother. Annie was a great girl, and I do wish I could have gotten to know her, but it hurts being constantly compared to the woman my husband could have been with, especially since we already have a son who his mother isn't allowed to see because of her insistence that he's not her real grandbaby, because he isn't Annie's. So this is where I think I probably overreacted and could be an asshole. We found out 2 months ago that we were having a baby girl, and we were ecstatic. I was worried he'd be one of those as only fathers, but he almost cried finding out we'd have a girl. Our son is also over the moon, constantly talking to his sister and asking for her name, which has become an issue as he recently asked to name our daughter after Annie, which was upsetting especially since his mother is so hung up about them being together. We ended up arguing slightly, and I'm currently staying with my son at a friend's house. Am I overthinking this? I just don't know what to do. His mom has been blowing up my messages. I don't even know how she got my messenger. Me and he haven't spoken to her since our son's first birthday, and my mama has just told me to stop arguing over it and just let him choose her name since she's his only daughter. Any advice is appreciated. I need a non-biased opinion. My friend says that I was overreacting for leaving, but I just needed time for myself, and I don't want to confront him right now. I know I can be sensitive without realizing so much input is appreciated. Annie died at 18 in an accident, and yes, her and my husband's mother were friends. Me and my husband met when I had recently started college, and we got married a year later. Our son is 3. My husband always defends and stands up to his mother when it comes down to it. I know he cares about me, but I sometimes worry if he'll subconsciously start believing what she says. I know I'm his wife, I'm the woman he married and has kids with, but it's hard not to feel secondary sometimes. My husband works a lot, and at the moment I wasn't thinking straight, but thinking about it, I think it was a better choice to take him, as I don't want him to be left alone by himself. I won't argue if he wants to see him or wants to pick him up in his free time. I'm just not ready to speak to him at the moment. I think using any name similar to Anne might be an issue. While I understand the sentiment is sweet, I don't want to feel pressured into a name that I know I'll regret.
I refused to wake my boyfriend up in the morning, which made him almost lose his job. So I, 25 years old, have been with my boyfriend, 25 years old, for almost a year, and during our entire relationship he has struggled with waking up in the morning because of his ad. He sleeps through all of his alarms, which usually means he is late for work. Sometimes it's only 10 to 15 minutes, but it can also stretch to 1 hour. His boss likes him and has given him plenty of chances, but yesterday he got his last warning that if he doesn't show up on time he will lose his job. We have had a couple of discussions, arguments about this over the last year because he believes it's my responsibility, as his girlfriend, to wake him up. But I don't. Despite me waking up from his alarms and being able to shove him out of bed, if need be, I don't think it's my responsibility. He is an adult, has known about his ads since he was a child, and should by now have found some method that works. He making it my responsibility turns me into a caregiver, a mother, instead of a girlfriend. This doesn't mean I refuse to help him whatsoever. I have done plenty of research to find alternative methods, but either it didn't work or he refuses to do it. And I do wake him when his alarms go off, but he decides to go back to sleep right after. Had he not done that, I would gladly wake him up every single day. And I know this is only my perspective, and is most likely not true about his, but when he decides to just go back to sleep, it makes it seem like he doesn't want to try. Not to mention the fact that he is especially grumpy, angry in the mornings and has, on several occasions, yelled at me for both waking him up and for not waking him up. And I don't want to help if he is just going to get mad, even though I know he doesn't mean it. But when his boss gave him his last warning yesterday, I felt so much guilt. Because had I just woken him up, and been persistent, he wouldn't be in this situation. So I am at an impasse. Is it my responsibility? Am I in the wrong for not helping, or should he, as an adult, be able to do this by himself? Because I kinda feel like an asshole, but also not. I feel like I should mention more the reason I don't want to wake him up. It's not like I can't, since I'm already awake, but first of all, this affects my day too. I can't go to sleep before him, because our bedroom doesn't have a door, small apartment, so if he's watching TV or gaming, it keeps me awake. This means I don't get enough sleep either, so when I have to do uni work during the day, before I have work in the evenings, I zone out and usually fall asleep. Physically can't keep my eyes open. Which is why I wish I could keep sleeping for an hour or so longer, without having to worry if he got up or not. But I also don't want this responsibility because I love him. I want him to be independent, and I know we're in a relationship and we're supposed to depend on each other. And we do. But I don't want him to depend on me to get him to work on time, or to keep his economy in check or anything that would turn his life upside down should we break up. I need to know he can take care of himself in case something happens.
I tell my dad's wife not to wear the color burnt orange or teal on my wedding day. I, 35 years old, is getting married in a month. I have pretty much done everything myself for my wedding. I wanted it that way so I wouldn't have a lot of opinions and suggestions. I recently got everyone together so we can go over the wedding day. My mom and dad haven't been together for my whole life. My dad and his wife recently got married last year and were together a little over 6 months before getting engaged. I had no issues with her and got along. I did have some issues on her speaking to my dad in front of me and just how she treated others, but I kept quiet because I didn't want to not be able to be around my dad. Well, recently there was an issue occurred at my get-together for the wedding party. There was a comment made about my mom from my dad's wife that wasn't nice. No one heard but me and my dad. I was upset and pretty much went off on my dad. His wife did apologize, but I just couldn't seem to get over it. Well, to the point at hand, my bridesmaids will be wearing burnt orange and my fiancé's mom, my mom, will be wearing teal. My dad's wife has decided to wear burnt orange. I have asked her not to wear either color because that's the color of my bridesmaids' moms. Well, she has an issue because she's feeling I shouldn't tell anyone what they can and can't wear. I said if she didn't know the colors I would understand, but she did and asked not to wear those colors. It has turned into a lot bigger issue. She doesn't understand why I don't want her to wear the colors of my wedding party. She isn't part of the wedding. I have not told all my guests to stay away from these colors. When messaging her, I did say if she didn't know, then I would have understood, but she did know. Plus, I have physically shown my bridesmaid's dress to her. She hasn't purchased the dress yet, so I stated I don't understand why it's hard to change the color of the dress when she hasn't purchased it yet. She stated she is picky and has looked everywhere, and it's difficult to find one. She is my dad's wife, not my stepmother. They have been married a little over a year. Just because she is my dad's wife, she shouldn't feel initiated to be part of my wedding party. When they got married, they didn't want to have their children at the wedding party. I had no issue with that. It was their wedding, not mine. I did have some issues with her, but I always kept quiet because of my dad. I didn't want to have that separation, but since the comment about my mom just crossed the line for me. It was the first time they even met, so they shouldn't have any issues. My dad is going to our bachelor party, but now they aren't going because of what was said and they don't want issues. So that makes me upset because now there are issues. I wasn't planning on excluding her from any pictures.